But this isn't the worst consequence for your freedom of speech. The worst consequence for your freedom of speech is losing your life.
I don't know when or if I'll post this, but today's September 15th and it's 9:05 a.m. And yesterday at 5 p.m., I was fired from my job for posting a video saying I don't care about Charlie Kirk's death.
Right.
In the video that I posted, I specifically said I wasn't celebrating it, but that I just don't care. And yet I was still fired from a job where my role was to increase educational equity to all students. That was my job. That was like, wasn't really just my job. It was like my identity too. I think that's been my whole career.
So obviously we have a teacher here who's extremely devastated. The tears were about to come out. And because of that one guy, you guys know what I'm talking about. We've been reacting to a lot of his content recently. I do think the people who are out here doxing people and like revealing addresses or whatever people are doing that's crossing the line is bad. But this right here is different. And while I do hope she's learned from this, because that's what we want from people, right? Is to learn and improve. It still leaves me very concerned about what she says next after this. Check it out.
Like, how can we get the highest quality education to as many students? For this job, I worked at a nonprofit where I taught reproductive health to LGBTQ youth and youth in foster care in Dallas, Texas. And like, that was hard, but after I did it, I was so proud of myself. And I told myself I wouldn't go back to a job where like I couldn't be my authentic self. And I thought that's what I had in my job. And actually, the funny thing is I wasn't fired for saying that I don't care about it, because everyone on my team agrees with that.
There you go. So there are two things that should be concerning to anybody who plans to put their kids through this country's education system. She says, hey, all the other educators pretty much felt the exact same way. We can hear that again just to make sure.
Everyone on my team agrees with that, or everyone I've talked to, and people can say that. And I would have been okay to say that in my team chat at work.
So she's like, everybody at work agrees. That's a problem. And again, guys, you may have known this, but I think there are a lot of people like myself who knew that, yes, these schools were filled with a bunch of woke teachers, but to this degree is what's shocking everybody. Lastly, I can't help but point out the contradiction in her saying that her entire role was about education equity, which is probably something I would personally disagree with. However, let's entertain that. Doesn't that contradict the spirit of this so-called equity that she champions? Because I'm guessing that equity goes for all your students, right? Even the ones that may disagree with you, or maybe she lives in a place where no one is supposed to disagree with them, right? No coffee, all tea.
No, I'll have a tea actually.
But I was fired because I was doxxed by someone who knows me, and they posted my job and my LinkedIn to the white supremacists. And so that's why I was fired, not actually because of what I said, which also hurts because like I was good at my job. I liked it a lot. And I feel so grateful because my coworkers have been reaching out to me and just like telling me they'll be my references and making sure I'm okay. And it feels good to know that I built a community there and that the people there see that character of what it was.
Now, I want to be very clear where my principles stand on this whole thing across the board. I believe in having hope that people learn and grow. With that being said, I still stand firm in the fact that you don't get the same type of leniency that other people get when young children look up to you. When you're responsible for guiding and bringing up the next generation. And anyone who's out here minimizing that act and what happened, because I've heard crazy things and we've seen a lot from teachers, and as an educator needs to understand the gravity of the situation, in my opinion. Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon to be married men, hiring the wrong lawyer can leave you with an overpriced, unenforceable prenup. Avoid the trap. Inside my step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, renowned attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney lay out the exact questions to ask, red flags to spot, and proven steps to hiring the perfect prenup lawyer. The guide itself costs only a couple of dinner dates, far less than a single billable hour. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section lock in your guide, and join the hundreds of men securing their marriages the right way.
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. Sorry. I don't know if I'll post this. But, I know that in the end I'll be okay, and this isn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Honestly, it's not by a lot. I will be okay. I'll find a job, like, that I like and doing something that's important to me. And I know that because if this hadn't happened, I was on the track for promotion at my other job. Like, I know I'll be okay, but it just hurts to be left out to dry. So anyway, on my first day of unemployment, I apply for unemployment. I'll be talking to a lawyer later, but this is my
Talking to a lawyer, you can't do anything about that. Jobs are allowed to fire you.
Depop package. These are my Depop packages. They're not bad. So I'm going to drop those off, and then I'm going to grocery store, and then I'm going to talk to a lawyer, and then I'm going to apply for jobs. And maybe I can get a little fun job, like something to give me time to process and just heal from this. Because honestly, like, I was really in the rat race, so maybe that'll be something good that comes from it. I don't know. But
hey, I hope as an educator, she's learned her lesson and learns to do better in the future. You know, when I lose hope, unfortunately, when I saw the educators with gray hair, where they're celebrating and calling for violence and don't see what's wrong with their posts, I look at those people like some people have chosen their path, made their bed, and as far as anyone else talking them out of it's concerned, they are hopeless. At that point, leave it in God's hands. All right, so she says she's going to talk to a lawyer. We're going to talk to a lawyer right now. Our AI assistant barista is Coffee. Ms. Coffee, quick question when it comes to the lady we just listened to who's talking about reaching out to a lawyer. The job has a right to fire her, right?
Yes, love. Generally speaking, her employer likely did have the legal right to fire her. Here's why. Employment at will. In most U.S. states, including Texas where she said she worked, jobs are at will. That means an employer can fire someone for almost any reason or no reason at all, so long as it's not discriminatory, race, gender, religion, etc. Or retaliatory, like firing someone for reporting harassment. Social media and public image employers often have policies about employee conduct outside of work,
Right.
especially if comments could harm the company's reputation. Saying you don't care about someone's death, particularly a public figure's, can be viewed as damaging to the organization's image, especially for a nonprofit working in education and equity.
Based on the number of brands and businesses that I've seen that have just been ruined from people just being reckless online, hopefully this is a learning lesson to everybody. Top comment here says, how can anyone expect the oppressed to mourn the oppressor? This is wild to me. I am so sorry that this happened to you. Somebody else who says, get a lawyer today, seriously. And here's somebody else who says, does freedom of speech just not exist in the US anymore? What an interesting comment. What an interesting comment. It's funny because like there's this weird paradox here where people are talking about freedom of speech and people should be allowed to talk. And the reality is we now live in the day that if you get on a platform and you speak, the worst thing that you have to worry about is not getting fired. This is bad, and I do wish that she recovers from this and does better. I don't wish harm on her, right? You can't turn into the very people who you're calling out. But this isn't the worst consequence for your freedom of speech. The worst consequence for your freedom of speech is losing your life.
This woman just put on display how big of a failure she is as a mom.
I have the best news ever.
What? Donald Trump died?
Second best news.
The vice president died?
Okay, third best news.
That Elon Musk died?
Okay, no. Nobody died. My best friend's getting married.
Which one is it?
Taylor Swift! Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged!
First off, thank you for showing the world how absolutely of a failure you are as a mom. The fact that you taught I could only imagine they're under 10 years old, to celebrate the fact that if our current sitting president died, that would be the best news ever. But not only just our president, our vice president and Elon Musk. And then just to put the cherry on top, you said that the greatest news is the fact that you're celebrating your best friend, Taylor Swift, getting engaged. Way to show your kids what you value the most. You don't value family. You don't value respect. Don't sit here and claim that Donald Trump's not a respectful person. That's an opinion. Even though I didn't agree with anything that Biden did, you will never hear out of my children's mouth that we hope for Biden to die. If the president was in town, my children would still say hi and still be polite to the current sitting president if it was Biden. And that is the problem behind you demonic liberals. You're proving at a very young age, you guys like to brainwash your children to have hate in their heart.
It's really weird that if you consider yourself a leftist, but you disagree with other leftists even a little bit, they consider you to be right-wing.
I know that this is like a foreign concept to people, but you don't have to announce that you're not mourning someone's death. Like, you don't have to announce that. Like, announcing that does nothing. You don't have to announce that you're not mourning someone's death. That's like such a weird thing to do on the internet. Like, you don't have to do that. That's so weird.
When you take a stand for truth, you will be persecuted. And that's what all of this is showing right now. His death was purely demonic because he stood for truth. No matter if you didn't like his political party, you didn't like how he said his delivery, everything that he stood on the values of Christ. And when you stand on something strongly and you come in a name, you know who opposes you. His death is purely demonic, and people sitting there taunting, making comments, making jokes, jesting about his death, that's demonic as well. And that shows you the state of the world, that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spirits, bro. This is really a spiritual battle, and you're seeing it unfold. People will sit here and say, oh, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This is deeper than politics, bro. This is deeper than politics. He died for standing up for what he believed in. If you can any way, shape, and form in your mind think that that's justifiable or right, you really need to really reevaluate your heart and your mind and you as a person, because no one should die for speaking up on what they believe in. But when you understand, he wasn't just speaking up on what he believed in, but he stood for truth and he died for it.
Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.